Healers, coaches, and creators usually start with a clear, driving ambition. They want to find their unique mark and actually see the impact of their work on other people. To get there, the standard playbook relies on constant pivoting. You try a new format, you switch platforms, or rebuild your business model, hunting for anything that gets immediate traction. But pouring energy into new experiments without getting any audience feedback is exhausting. When you are constantly producing and the metrics stay flat, the inevitable result is severe burnout. 3 years ago, a creator named Rahul George tried a different approach. He stopped looking at the analytics altogether and committed to recording a podcast every single day. Instead of chasing views or algorithm bumps, he shifted his focus inward. Whether people watched the video right away or ever didn't matter. The daily recording was a promise kept strictly to himself. Which brings up a very difficult question. How exactly do you build the psychological endurance to create every single day, for years, without any external validation to keep you going? The first requirement is a complete shift in how you view time. Finding a format that actually works means you have to endure a long, unavoidable period of trial and error. This chart shows two very different paths. While we naturally expect the steep, linear growth line, the reality is the long, flat curve at the bottom. Not patience, but not the passive kind. Here, patience is an active, structural requirement for gathering data and learning what actually resonates. That brings us to the second shift, outcome detachment. To survive the flat line, you have to execute the daily input regardless of the output. That means showing up on off days, even when the viewership is sitting at absolute zero. You have to intentionally remove the results from your internal scoreboard. The psychological pivot happens when the completion of the work becomes the reward, totally independent of who is consuming it. There is a strange paradox in this detachment. When you stop creating from a place of desperation for an audience, your output becomes far more authentic. Over the long haul, that consistency provides a reliable signal that allows the right people to discover and trust your work. Surviving that initial desert of visibility requires a deliberate shift in how you measure success. The process itself must become the primary source of reward, replacing the traditional reliance on external validation. But relying solely on process has a known failure point. Eventually, you will hit a day where your motivation vanishes entirely, and the psychological friction to sit down and create feels insurmountable. To solve this, you need a third shift, the minimum viable effort. Instead of skipping the day completely, you execute the absolute smallest unit of work required to keep the chain unbroken. This diagram illustrates how you bypass standard production barriers. Rather than forcing yourself down the high-friction pathway of setting up a studio, lights, and editing software, you take the direct, low-friction route. You simply turn on your smartphone camera, check in for 60 seconds, and secure the daily win. This micro-effort serves a highly specific function. It keeps you from burning out through toxic productivity while still acting as a vital structural bridge that protects your neurological habit loop. When creators say you need to trust the process, it is a systemic reliance on these microscopic, unbroken efforts to hold your momentum together when things get difficult. If we pull back from the daily routine and look at the macro timeline, we can see what happens when extreme patience, outcome detachment, and minimum viable effort operate continuously for years. A structural transition takes place. The creator evolves from an isolated voice broadcasting into a void into a centralized hub for a highly engaged community. This visualization shows the mechanics of compounding effort. Over hundreds of days, those tiny isolated recordings map together, building an undeniable body of work. The solitary habit expands outward, translating into shared travel, collaborative work, and a measurable impact alongside a loyal audience. The culture around content creation heavily promotes the myth of the overnight viral breakthrough. But while virality is a fragile strategy, a compounding daily discipline creates an accumulated body of work that serves as a permanent, searchable foundation for your community. Finding your true mark never requires one massive, risky leap. It simply requires the quiet, deliberate decision to execute the smallest possible unit of work, living out your purpose one day at a